Your exploration vessel has worked well with its new human crew members. Since humans are eager to see all sorts of different worlds, the crew has embraced their mission. However, when your ship comes across its first oceanic planet, the humans absolutely refuse to leave the ship. In the crew bay, the ship shakes violently as it encounters the edges of the world's atmosphere. Strapped into his force chair, Yarin sits quietly and flips through the data. At 3:10, the planet is identified as an oceanic world. Deep scans indicate liquid oceans and a heavy atmosphere filled with water vapor. There appear to be no land masses of any kind on the surface, nor any shallow reefs. The entire planet, from pole to pole, is a single deep ocean. Yarin feels the excitement bubbling up inside him. Another new world, another series of discoveries to make. He looks up, noticing 6 humans sitting along the opposite crew wall. Each one is an able explorer and brilliant scientist, besides himself and the pilot, who are both Nixon. It's little surprise that in the 308th century, his crew consists entirely of humans. Where other spacefaring species are often insular to a fault, humans are more willing or desperate to secure a ride into new frontiers with unlikely companions. More importantly, while almost all species in the law-abiding federations of the galaxy are timid and careful, humans are reckless. It is seldom you can convince an Erusian or a Rurin, or any of the other advanced species, to embark on an endeavor that risks failure, especially if that venture also involves personal harm. For that reason, when Yarin looks up and sees the terrified faces of his human crew flipping desperately through the readouts on their personal tablets, he is surprised. The vessel shakes violently, and the sounds of sloshing water can be heard as the vessel's engines cool to idle. "Time to get going," Yarin says, unbuckling himself and rushing to be the first out onto the observation deck that runs along the ship's spine. The crew calls out after him, telling him to wait, imploring him to slow down. He continues anyway, climbing upward out of the access hatch. He is the captain, he tells himself. He can't allow himself to be slowed down or show fear. As he emerges into the weak sunlight, he sees the world with his own eyes. Below is the bulk of the ship, bobbing slowly as it comes to rest in the black water below. He peers down at the water, and though it is still and clear, he finds that in the dim light, he can see little besides darkness below. The humans are climbing out behind him now, and if anything, he can sense their unease grow. "No waves," one mutters, glancing around nervously at the fog. Yarin turns excitedly and gestures around. There are no orbital bodies to induce tide and no wind to form waves. "Isn't it beautiful? Serene." "Yes, that is the word," the humans reply, looking around awkwardly. The fog is closer now than it had seemed on landing, and it is difficult to see more than 20 yards in any direction. They are a dot floating in the mist on a dark, deep ocean as smooth as glass. Darren, the chief scientist of the humans, turns to Yarin. "I think the correct term is creepy, sir." Yarin isn't listening anymore, busy instead talking hurriedly into his communicator with the pilot. After a few minutes of conversation in Nixon, Yarin begins taking off his pressure suit. The humans stare in shocked perplexity. Darren tries to object, but manages only to splutter. Yarin waves him down as he awkwardly hops to remove his left boot. "It's fine, Darren. The bridge confirms the water is non-toxic, and the atmosphere is breathable. I thought you humans came from a world with oceans. Don't you want to?" Darren looks even more perplexed. "Want to what, sir?" "Swim." Yarin beams. "You can't be serious." "I know how to swim," Yarin responds, mock sarcasm in his voice. "I just don't think that's a good idea, sir." Yarin smiles inwardly. It's a rare treat to upstage the human's usual blustering bravado. He takes 2 running steps and throws himself off the edge. The drop is 3 meters, and the water splashes noisily as he lands. From above, the humans watch in frank dismay as the Nixon splashes, carouses, and yells taunts and jibes up at them. The ripples in the water seem unusually stark as they reflect against the fog above, crisscrossing and clashing to form complex patterns of gray fog and dark water. There seem to Darren to be more ripples than could be created by one man. From below, a sound begins, choral and atonal. It is soft at first, then swells to a crescendo before fading again. It reminds Darren of whale song, while it reminds Yarin of his vulnerability. As the sound repeats, growing louder in its crescendos, the humans begin to yell and plead with Yarin to hurry up and return to the ship. Yarin needs no encouragement. He is thrashing violently in the water, trying desperately to claw his way back to the void ship. Darren locks eyes with him, screaming at him to hurry. Darren sees the look of terror seize Yarin as something grasps him from below and pulls him into the depths. The tonal chanting stops then, and from somewhere very far away in the fog, there is the sound of other choirs singing.